Hey everyone, Cara Bradley here. I have a great topic to talk to you about tonight, and it comes straight from my book, On the Verge, Wake Up, Show Up, and Shine. And we are in a book group talking about all the things about living on the verge, which is really about waking up from your busy mind, which we spoke about last week, showing up, really showing up in this moment. And when you do that, when you can wake up out of your thoughts, out of all of your habitual patterns, and show up fully for the moment that you're living in, you shine. You shine. Tonight, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite chapters in the book, and it's way in the back of the book. It's in part 5, and it's called Ripe Opportunities. Ripe opportunities is really something that I teach about every single day as a yoga teacher, as a meditation teacher, as a coach, just as a mother, right? I'm talking about ripe opportunities. They're ripe opportunities to shine, to access our potential. And we meet them every single day. And so we've got a couple of exercises to do together and a couple of things for you to think about. And hopefully you come away with a couple of nuggets to bring into your daily life, because at the end of the day, this is really all about making our lives much more simple, much more focused, to let go of all the things that are non-essential. And we have a lot of stuff that we carry around in life that's just non-essential. Some of it's just old stuff like old luggage that you can just put down. So our focus in living on the verge is really to simplify. Henry David Thoreau said, simplify, simplify, simplify. And that is what I'm all about. So let's get to it. First, I want to talk to you about our natural state of being. I talk about it, I write about it a lot in the book. Last week, we talked about the busy mind. The busy mind, if you can think about it like a container of thoughts, of emotions, of patterns, of old experiences and conditioning. And unfortunately, most of us carry that around with us all the time. And our busy minds, when we're living and moving and acting and chatting and speaking from our busy mind, it's almost as if it's our words, our actions, our experiences get muted. We talked about that last week. When we can shift beyond our busy mind, even for a moment, which is what we talked about in week 1, which was recognizing aliveness, noticing the birds, noticing the smells, noticing the sunset, noticing the person sitting in front of you. When we can notice aliveness, presence, we are shifted beyond our busy mind. And when that happens, we, even for one split second, we shift into our natural state, our most natural state of being. If you think about when you were a child and you were laying down in the grass and looking up at the stars, or when you were just playing and you played for hours and hours until you were called in for dinner. As children, we lived more often in our natural state. We didn't worry so much. We didn't plan or remember. We were just there with whatever we were doing, with whatever we were eating, with whoever we were playing with. And in that natural state, we have this natural capacity to access potential, to access genius, to access intelligence and gut instinct and premonition. When we're in our natural state, what I call clear mind, bright body, and open heart, we shine. And so what I want to talk to you about tonight is shining through ripe opportunity. Ripe opportunities are situations in life, they could be people, that press our buttons. They're situations or people that we may be unfamiliar with, or we may be uncomfortable with. And so when we're right up against the edge of what we're comfortable with and familiar with, we start to wake up. You ever notice that? When you're uncomfortable, or when you're in, say, when you're traveling on vacation and you're in another country and your senses are lit up, right? Everything is lit up. You're feeling really present. It's one of the reasons why people like to travel, because we feel much more present. We're in unfamiliar situations. So a ripe opportunity to access potential, a ripe opportunity to shine, is when we're uncomfortable and unfamiliar. Now, here's the problem, is that it is our natural instinct to run away from that. We as humans, we don't like to be uncomfortable, and we don't like to not know. We don't like to not be in control. So what happens because of that is that you may be cutting yourself off from ripe opportunities all the time. So tonight we're going to take a look at that. And hopefully it'll help you wake up to some of the opportunities in your current daily life that you can lean into and that you can start to shine a bit, pull out some genius, find your creativity, find your truth, your vocal capacity to speak directly. So my question for you is, this is a gut check. So we find it in the book. I can't tell you exactly what chapter it is. I think it's chapter 19, maybe chapter 18, but it's at the end of the book. The gut check is, what are your ripe opportunities right now? What are some situations that are uncomfortable or unfamiliar that you may just be living with every day? And it doesn't have to be happening every day. It could be a strained relationship with a friend that you haven't seen, but yet you think about it a lot. It could be a yoga pose. It could be, I've got loads of them. So I'm just going to tell you some of mine. My house is on the market right now, and it's been a few months, and it's really uncomfortable. Every day it's uncomfortable because we keep thinking maybe today's the day it's going to sell. And actually today we found out something that we think has been keeping our house from selling. It was something that wasn't disclosed or was disclosed in the improper way. So, oh my gosh, all day long I've been like churning and churning. It's been uncomfortable to be in my body today because I know that there was this situation that wasn't dealt with properly. So I'm sure you've got some of your own. So think about it. Pause for a moment. Are there situations, maybe work, maybe home, maybe it's just something you're not dealing with, that's making you uncomfortable? Is it a health situation, relationship, something you're not doing that you know you should be doing? And then also, is there something unfamiliar that you're dealing with right now? Something completely new. Perhaps you were asked to do a new job at work, or perhaps you were asked to, my husband's downstairs fixing the kitchen faucet, right? He has no idea what he's doing. Totally unfamiliar, but I think he's doing it. He's tackling it. That's why I'm upstairs in my closet recording this, because he's downstairs where I usually sit. Is there something unfamiliar that you're avoiding, perhaps, because you don't know how to do it? Or maybe a situation where you feel like you have no control. So think about these. These are ripe opportunities to shine. They may be uncomfortable and they may be unfamiliar, but when we get pressed up right to the boundary of what we're comfortable doing and what we're familiar with doing, we wake up. Boom, we wake up. All of a sudden, think about those tragedies that happen. You hear about them all the time. The mother that lifts the car off the child. I mean, God forbid. But, we hear about these stories of incredible strength, of incredible quick-mindedness to do something so fast. This is potential, everyone. So now that you've come up with a couple, and hopefully you have, let's talk about potential for a moment, because I feel like it's a word that's used way too much. I don't take it lightly. When I use the word potential, I mean it. I mean it in the true sense of the word. The word potential really means a latent or dormant capacity. A latent or dormant capacity. It could be unique to you. It could be capacities that we all have. But these capacities may be dormant and we may never access them. They may never awaken because we're shut down, we're turned off, we're closed off to accessing. And so what I find as a teacher, and I've been teaching movement for over 35 years, I've been pushing people, not physically, but pushing people right up to their limits to help them see their potential. When we're pressed physically, when we're in a yoga pose or asked to pick up a certain amount of weight that's more than we're used to, or when we're asked to climb a mountain that's tough for us, we come right flat up against that latent or dormant potential, that capacity. And so when we start to get comfortable being uncomfortable, when we start to lean into these opportunities to be in the unfamiliar, or as Pema Chodron, who's a meditation teacher, she calls it shaky ground. When we start to become comfortable on the shaky ground, we start to expand more and more and more. We start to wake up more and more and more. And that's one of the beautiful things about practices like yoga and meditation or other daily practices, is that every day you're leaning right up against that boundary. Or as I sometimes say, it's like looking right up into your face in the mirror. You know how uncomfortable that is, looking right at your face for a while. So instead of trying to make everything all cheery and rainbows and unicorns, why don't we turn the dial a little bit, or turn the lens the whole opposite way and look at some of the uncomfortable things. So think about it right now, if you would, today. What happened in your day today that was uncomfortable or unfamiliar? I had a ton of things happen, but you think about yours for a moment and then I'll share mine. Was there a moment when you felt yourself get tense, clenched, your throat tighten, your stomach tighten, your heart rate race? Was there a moment when you felt like, oh, I don't know if I can do this? Or maybe I'll just do this tomorrow because I don't want to deal with it. So I was in a spin class this morning. It was a spin class I hated. And I usually don't say that word. I really, really didn't like this class. There was nothing wrong with the teacher, but he was pushing and screaming and pressing us in a way that I just didn't like. It was really early in the morning and I just felt like this is just not for me. But I still wanted my workout. You know, I got up so early and I got there. So I was in the back, luckily, and I kind of got my way through it, but it was uncomfortable. I wasn't necessarily physically uncomfortable. I was just, my whole being was just uncomfortable. I wasn't angry because it wasn't his fault. I was just in the wrong class. Right? So that was something I sat for the whole 45 minutes and looked at myself and watched myself lean in and press into boundaries that weren't comfortable. I had some other stuff go on. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. So I had my teeth cleaned at the dentist, right? I mean, who really likes going to the dentist? You know, the noise, like scraping, the suction thing. I went straight from the dentist to have my annual mammogram. And so for those of you who have had a mammogram, that ain't no piece of cake either. So I had the spin class, I had the dentist, I had the mammogram, and then I just had other kind of shit hit the fan with my house being on the market. So it wasn't a horrible day, but there was a lot shaking me up. And it was a great day to practice. It was a great day to watch myself. So one more time, just think about your day. If you had anything in the realm of my stuff or more or different that kind of shook you up a little bit. that made you feel like you were right up against the boundary of what you're comfortable doing. Just take another breath or two. So to close out here, what I encourage you all to do, reread the chapter so you get a good idea. And then just start to notice. So your homework from a few weeks ago was to notice when you feel alive, when you feel presence. Last week, it was to notice all of the traits of your busy mind: sloppy brain, overthinking, information overload. Oh, there's more. I can't remember. I don't have it written down. It'll come to me. Crazy busy. That was it. Today, I'd like you to revisit your ripe opportunities to shine. How could I have shined today in all the situations? Well, I mean, I kind of did. I kind of just stayed in my spin class, got my workout in. I won't go back. I, dealt with my dentist as best I could. I didn't complain and whine, and same with the mammogram. And I'm just getting through it. And I do feel like because I was pressed so tightly up against a wall, I was able to shine in ways that maybe a couple of years ago I would have just been really cranky and whiny. So every day, notice ripe opportunities. Notice a situation, a heated discussion at work, or something that happens at home, or a traffic jam. How can I shine in this moment? When things get uncomfortable, when you're thrown in unfamiliar, shaky territory, we feel alive. And when we feel alive and present, we shine. We shine brightly in those moments. I think it was Emerson. It's either Emerson or Abraham Lincoln. I'm going to really fudge this one. But it was something like, you can determine the integrity of a man/woman by the degree to which they get angry. So if somebody gets angry at the small stuff, they probably haven't done a lot of this kind of work in patience and in practice. So think about that. Ripe opportunities to shine. And they're bigger. There are bigger things. And if you read the chapter, you'll see that when you start to practice leaning into your ripe opportunities, you're going to find more and more out there. And that's how we start to press the boundaries of who we are. It's how we start to access our potential, our intelligence, our creative genius. So thank you so much for joining me. If you're on the call for the book group, just stay on for another moment. For the rest of you, thanks so much for joining me. Remember, On the Verge, wake up, show up, and shine. And you can check me out on my podcast every single week. I'm coming at you with some kind of juicy topic like this. So I hope you join me. Thanks again.